25 minutes before 11 o'clock. We have a new segment right now, and a brand new name for this segment that was just decided upon by the host of the show. It's Legal Lane. Vanessa Lane Jennings is your host. You are going to hear from her in just a moment now. We just met her for the first time, and she is an attorney. And she focuses on criminal law and contra and small business law. Contra, it's always one of those words that's a mysterious word. Family law, employment law. She worked on congressional campaigns as a political coordinator and an organizer. She worked as a prosecutor in the domestic violence unit at the Miami-Dade State Attorney's Office. Oh, my goodness. Thank you, Robin, for doing all this background check. She's a member of the Florida Association of Women Lawyers and the founder of Jennings Law Firm here in Ocala. And you grew up in Ocala, I understand, right?
I did grow up in Ocala.
Well, nice to meet you. Thank you for coming in here.
It's my pleasure.
And the one thing I'll tell you is that music won't be the music every show. That was Lindsey Buckingham from Fleetwood Mac.
Fleetwood Mac.
I love it.
Yeah. Oh, you liked it?
I did.
So nice to meet you.
It's a pleasure.
How long have you been practicing law?
I have been a practicing attorney since 2008.
Oh, wow. And is this something that you always wanted to do?
Absolutely not.
No?
Absolutely not. I'm fairly certain if you asked anyone before I ever went to law school, they would say that was the last thing that I wanted to do. I wanted to be a campaign manager my entire life. And that's a weird thing for a kid to want to be, but that's what I wanted to do. And I worked on campaigns. I got a master's certificate in it. I went all the way up to Chicago to work on congressional campaigns, and then I worked on smaller campaigns as well.
Uh-huh.
And they said, you're really good at being the finance director. We like our finance directors to go to law school. And then I looked at them and stared and said, there's no way I'm going to law school ever. And they said, do you want the job? And I said, yes. They said, okay, well, law school it is. So I took a year off and applied. You have to take the LSAT and apply to the different schools and jump through all the hoops. And I narrowed it down to a school in Central Michigan, and off I went. And something funny happened on my first day. I fell in love with it. It was criminal law. It was the best experience of my life. And to say that
Really? Wow, it's amazing how a life unfolds, isn't it?
It really is. And I didn't expect to like it. I went in there just, this is 3 years. I have to go through it. At the end, I'll get my dream job. What I just didn't realize is at the end, I would get my dream job. It would just be being a prosecutor in Miami.
A prosecutor. So that means you had to prove to a jury that the bad guy was the bad guy.
Beyond and to the exclusion of a reasonable doubt.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow. So when we see for example, and not to dive right into a heavy one, but yesterday they executed a guy, and he had so many, what do you call them when they don't
Appeals?
So when they don't take right away. The jury was hung, whatever they say.
They have hung juries, yes.
Okay. But he's dead now, and
so bleak. He's dead now. Yes, he's no longer with us.
But I mean, if you were that prosecuting attorney, I would imagine that would have been very frustrating for you to see that this guy who you were convinced was guilty was not being found guilty.
That's always a hard part when you know in your heart that this person did it. There's times when we would have, because I was in the domestic violence unit, we know that this person did these things. And there's certain things that can never come out. You can't say certain facts, the jury will never be able to hear for one reason or another. And
wow, doesn't that seem unfair that there's actually evidence that they can't hear?
Well, see, now that I'm a criminal defense attorney, my instinct is to tell you
defense,
heck no.
Okay.
Heck no. But that's the way the law works. It's to protect the person. I mean, you have constitutional rights to be protected. And so when the police don't do every aspect of their job correctly things get excluded, or if there's background information that's not relevant according to case law and it's excluded, that's constitutionally fair. You're protecting the individual's rights. And that in and of itself, I think whether or not it's a guilty or not guilty is the most important part, because you want to make sure the law is upheld.
Right. When somebody has a plea deal offered to them and they are completely innocent, but the attorney says, look, if you go to trial for this, you could be in there 20 years. The plea deal, you could be only 5. Yeah, but I didn't do it. What do you say to that person? I mean, especially if you truly believe he's innocent.
It's a long conversation. I haven't worked on 5 years, but I mean, there's been times where you taking a short probation period, or you taking certain classes, and then the case is dismissed, or you doing this, or you doing that, is a very less sentence than what you're looking for if you go to trial. Because you never know what 6 other people are going to think of you. And that's
true,
hard.
yeah.
I mean, because everyone comes into a trial and sits on a jury panel with their own life experiences. And during the voir dire process, that's where you go and you pick the jury. You try to go and talk to each and every person
Right.
and try to get their feeling for who they are. But how you get an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours at max if it's a huge felony trial. How do you really get to know somebody in that time? You don't. So you never really know what they're going to do and what they're going to say. So you have to be honest. You're like, look, this, sometimes it's the judge. You're like, this particular judge gives harsh sentences. If this jury comes back with a guilty, you could be going away for the max.
As a former prosecuting attorney, have you as a defense attorney now, do you ever meet with the prosecuting attorney and say, look, I'm convinced my client is innocent? Does that meeting ever happen?
It always happens.
It always happens.
Oh, yes.
And do you ever convince them that they've somehow figured out the wrong guy?
That absolutely, it has happened.
And so what happens then? Then they call it off? There's no more charges?
The case will be dismissed. They will file what's called a
Oh
null
my
pros.
gosh, I would worship you forever if that happened.
There's a couple people in Marion County who are worshiping.
I mean, if you think about what you just got, the scare of your life because you were accused of something you didn't do, and there was a person called a prosecutor who thought you did it, right? And then Vanessa comes and you're like touched by an angel or something.
Exactly.
I mean, wouldn't that be?
Exactly.
Wow. So do you like being a defense attorney because of that?
I love being a defense attorney. It's more creative than being a prosecutor to a certain extent because the burden is on you when you're the prosecutor. It's your job to prove the case. You have to prove that each element of the crime actually occurred and that this was the one who did it. And sometimes that's a heavy burden to get to because sometimes there's no witnesses. Sometimes the evidence is very, very weak against the person. So when you're the defense attorney, your job is to poke holes in the story. And that's where the creativity comes. And it's like, well, did this person do it or didn't they? Do they have an alibi? Do they have their own witnesses to say what the prosecutor said happened actually never even occurred? So you get to craft the story for your client while the state has to kind of stick to the evidence and the facts and craft their story around what the law is.
Right.
Are some of your cases hindered because people like to watch those stories on TV like Matlock and stuff?
Law and Order, I'm fairly convinced, has ruined the criminal justice system when it comes to at least for the jury panel because they're now expecting to see DNA evidence. They're now expecting to see witnesses. They expect this elaborate show when in a lot of cases, especially when I was a prosecutor in domestic violence, there were no witnesses. In those particular cases, all you had were the defendant and the alleged victim. And that's difficult. For my client side now as a defense attorney, I have clients who expect it, they see Law and Order, it's done in an hour. So they began it and ended.
Extreme home makeover. They do it in a weekend, right?
Right, and you try it at home and it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
It could take a year to 2 years, and that's frustrating because your life feels like it's on hold during that time.
Wow. Vanessa Lane Jennings is here. What does the word Esquire mean after your name? What is that? I see that all the time on attorneys. What does it actually mean?
It means we're an attorney.
It just means attorney? Okay.
It is our fancy Latin word, but it also means that we passed the bar exam. So the word attorney and the word Esquire both means we passed the bar, where a lawyer just means you graduated law school.
Oh.
I never knew that.
Oh, I
now
never
I know.
knew that.
Just like I just recently learned what an adjunct professor is. It's part-time.
Yeah.
Part-time. All right, Vanessa Lane Jennings, we'll take a little break, be right back. If you have a question for Vanessa, it's a new show called Legal Lane. If you have a question, she's an attorney. So if you have a question for an attorney, right now is the number. Now the number to call, 622-9622.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. We'll see a couple of showers during the morning hours of Friday. Otherwise, a mostly cloudy day with a high of 73 to 77. Partly to mostly cloudy and mild Friday night with some fog around late at night, low 58 to 62. On Saturday, morning fog patches, otherwise mostly cloudy and warm with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm, especially during the afternoon hours. A high Saturday, 76 to 81. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
The very best in quality is Captain T's Upholstery.
Hey, this is Dan. Let me ask you a few questions. Does your boat look better with the cover on? Has your car's interior seen its better days? Stop using a towel to cover up those rips in the golf cart. Isn't it about time you had it restored to better than new with a custom upholstery from Captain T? Captain T's Upholstery has been right here in Ocala for nearly 20 years, so they know how to make your ride one of a kind. Whether you want to take that classic ride back to a factory look or put your favorite sports team front and center, Captain T's Upholstery is who to call. 352-369-1810. That's 352-369-1810. Or stop by their location, 5030 South Pine Avenue in Ocala, just past the drive-in. And of course, don't forget to visit them on the web, CaptainTUpholstery.com.
The very best in quality is Captain T's Upholstery.
Hey, Matt, I know Sunrise Automotive does auto stuff, but I need some tires for my truck. Can you recommend someone?
Yes, I can. We do that.
No, I mean, I need them installed and balanced and all that.
Yep, we do that.
Well, my son needed his windows tinted.
Yep, we do that.
I need my seat replaced.
Yep, we do that too.
I need a new roof line, and a new spoiler, and a new
Yep,
trunk.
we can even do that too.
Okay, I get it. I suppose you can also do a radio show too.
Well, as a matter of fact, join me, Matt Gibbs from Sunrise Automotive, every Tuesday at 10 for auto repair with personal care right here on The Source.
Stay informed on everything going on in the Villages with the Village Spectator newspaper. The Village Spectator is exclusively devoted to the Villages with news, commentary, and more. And yes, they have Tom's Picks, a free referral for people who are looking for a company to do work for them. Tom's Picks will refer the company that fits your needs, and all we ask is that you tell them where you heard about them. Call Tom's Picks at 804-1223 and pick up your copy of the Village Spectator today.
Now read Ocala Downtown newspaper online.
Hi, this is Brad. I want to take a moment to talk about a serious issue. In the next 5 years, the aviation industry is projected to have a shortage of commercial pilots. Now is the time to start training. Ocala Flying Club has started a scholarship for the youth of Marion County ages 17 to 24. The club will donate up to $4,000 towards a pilot's license. This will help get the student on their way to obtaining their commercial pilot license. If this sounds like something you would be interested in, or if you know someone that would be, please contact Ocala Aviation Services, 861-7484.
All right, 12 minutes before 11 o'clock. Gosh, time goes fast sometimes, and those times are usually when the conversation is good. And it has been good with Vanessa Lane Jennings. She's in the studio. Her new show that she's the hostess of is Legal Lane. Vanessa is an attorney, and she has, my goodness, a background to her. Plus, she grew up here in Ocala. So typically in Ocala, what kind of cases are you getting? People who've been arrested and that kind of thing?
Criminal law is probably about 30% of my practice now. When I first started,
30%, okay.
When I first started, it was close to 100%. Somewhere along the way, family law really took over. There is a great need in this particular area for good family law attorneys. And that's kind of where I found myself, is in the family law niche, not something that I wanted to go into
right.
when I first started, because my passion was criminal law. But it kind of evolved over time, where there's not a lot of attorneys who practice family law that everyone could afford. There's like a gap.
Right.
They're really good, and I work with them, and they're great people to be opposing counsel with, and I love every single solitary one of them, and enjoy working with them. But some of their retainers are $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. And when you ask the average resident of Marion County, can you write that check? They can't.
Right.
You know, whereas they could afford a lower hourly rate and a smaller retainer. So since I was starting out, that's what I decided to do. It's called either low bono, which takes your pro bono, which is free, and this idea of doing like a sliding scale of fees, and so I call it low bono practice.
Sounds like Sonny Bono's Chinese cousin, doesn't it?
It is. That is exactly what it is. But that's kind of, that has taken over probably about 60% of my practice right now.
Can I give you an example? And this is not something I really know, but I'm making it up, just so you know. But let's say there's a husband and wife, they're getting divorced, and he's been the breadwinner all of this time, and they've got 2 children. She doesn't have a job. I mean, and maybe she doesn't want the divorce. He wants the divorce, and he wants the children. Okay, so he's got the money. He's got the way to support the children. How do you help her so she doesn't lose her? I'm always feeling bad when I hear about people who've had this circumstance, whether it's, and you could reverse the genders. It doesn't really have to be the man who is the breadwinner, but
No, it could be the woman.
it could be the opposite, yeah.
We'll take your hypo. I'm okay with your gender roles at this particular time. If I'm helping her, I need to know how long they've been married, because Florida is very particular about alimony, and when alimony, how much you can ask at different stages of the marriage, and what, for lack of a better word, what they're entitled to per law. And so what you do is you say, okay, at the very least, are you willing to go back to school? Are you willing to go and get training? Can we rehabilitate you?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, you think of it in terms of rehabilitation, but we have to build you back up, and you get money for that. There's a 2-year bridge the gap alimony in the state of Florida where we can go back and teach you how to earn money for yourself. You can go get your A, go to voc tech training. It gives you that ability to bridge the gap from being married and dependent, because that's what she chose with him, to be a stay-at-home mom.
Okay.
Because it's normally a family decision. One person normally doesn't choose it unilaterally.
So to put it in my words, there's hope. For
Absolutely,
somebody
there's hope.
like in that position, there's hope that she won't lose her children.
Right. Well, she shouldn't lose her children.
Right.
She should be able to. She's going to be getting child support. And child support's going to be based on time sharing. There's guidelines. The state of Florida is very, very specific when it comes to the guidelines for child support, and it's a formula. So they put in what his income is. They're going to what's called impute a salary for her because she doesn't have one.
Mm-hmm.
So the state of Florida says you have to make at least minimum wage. That's $8.05 an hour for a 40-hour work week, even if you're working 0 hours. But that works on the flip side where, let's say there's a father who's not working at all and a mother who's struggling. He's still going to have to owe her child support even though he doesn't have a job, because the state of Florida imputes a salary onto him.
Okay, that makes sense, yeah.
So it works both ways.
Mm-hmm.
So in this case, with my client being the female, we would impute a salary onto her. We will figure out how much child support should be, and that's what she should get on a monthly basis. If she doesn't, then we go back to the court and we say, okay, court, it's your responsibility.
It's a tough one, isn't it? And so we've covered the criminal and to the family, and I have the strictly financial one, if I could bring that to this conversation. The one that's strictly financial, like in order for me to be whole, I need to sue this company or this person for this amount of money. So there's no feelings necessarily, it's about money, okay? And you know what this comes from? This comes from a story this morning. There was a guy who bought a ticket to a basketball game. It was $195 on
4 tickets.
On Hub, what's it called?
StubHub.
Okay.
Bought 4 tickets.
And then Kobe Bryant announced that he was retiring. So now the tickets for that game, which is in April, now the tickets for that game are worth like $2,000 a piece. So StubHub, he already bought the tickets at $195
a piece.
Now StubHub says, okay, we didn't charge you enough, so we have to cancel that order. You have to reorder the tickets now after he had them in like a week or two?
Yes.
So he bought them a week or two ago, right? Anyway, long story short, it's in the news this morning.
Right.
So, and of course now StubHub is getting this bad press because they were saying, no, the tickets we sold you are not, we need the more money. So, would you ever take a case like that where it's strictly about somebody feeling like they were done wrong financially?
Yeah, they were cheated.
Oh, absolutely. I have cases like that now.
Oh, you do?
Absolutely. In that case, it would be you would want to read the terms and conditions of StubHub. I don't know what they are, to see if they even have the ability to do that. Because what they did is they entered into a contract. We're offering you this good for this price.
Right.
And that is a valid contract. But sometimes online companies have terms and conditions that can say, we have up to so many days to charge you more if something happens.
Right,
or
right.
there's they put caveats or
Oh my gosh.
conditions on it. So my concern, if someone walked into my office with that, is what actually did you bargain for? And you would have to read the terms and conditions to figure out what was actually bargained for, because no one reads those. I know I don't. I don't know about you guys.
It's unbelievable.
But I just click yes.
And nowadays, I know it says click. I mean, you
Yes.
don't even have time. It's so long. I think they make them wordy just so you say, "Oh, forget it. I'll just click it."
That's one of the things I do for my business partners. I do make terms and conditions for websites. So I know I don't make them wordy particularly, but you do want to cover all the bases. So I know for my clients who are companies,
Right.
You want to protect them. And that's what was done. And people blindly select them. And
So next time I get an app, I'll come to you first and say, would you please go through this whole thing before I click?
just print it off for me and I'll read it for you.
Aside from like car accidents, and I went through a divorce, I had that attorney experience, but the main attorney experience Rob and I have is with intellectual property. Do you ever handle those kind of cases?
I really send those off. Those are a very special branch of law that I don't practice in. I know the law, because I went to law school and I took those classes, but it's not a particular area of law that I really specialize in. It fringes on some of the patent law stuff, which you actually have to have a special bar license to do.
Oh, is that right?
It is its own special little subsect of the law.
And can somebody that's living in another county in the state of Florida come to you to use your services?
As long as they're in the state of Florida, I can be their attorney. Now, I have clients who are outside the state of Florida, but their incident took place in the state of Florida.
Oh.
I have a traffic accident that took place in the Panhandle, but the couple was from out of state. They were visiting Florida at the time. I have, a couple other
How did they find you in Ocala? Just from
Friends
your
of
website?
friends.
Oh, Friends of Friends. Okay.
Yep.
By the way, I'm mentioning the website. You do have a website, and I went to it.
do.
It was a nice looking site. Let me find it again. And well, you can tell us what it is.
It's www.jenningslaw.net.
JenningsLaw.net. JENNINGS law.net.
That's correct.
Gosh, the time flies. We have just 3 minutes left. If you want to call in, you're welcome to do that. The number is 622-9622. But Vanessa will be here every Friday
at 10:30.
at 10:30, with one exception. That's next week, right?
Right,
So,
it'll be 11 o'clock.
Yeah, okay. But you'll be here to answer our legal questions.
Absolutely.
Well, this is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to the kind of stories that you bring in, and obviously you can't share private stuff, but I'm guessing what's going to happen. People are going to be looking at the news and saying, for example, here's a good one: Bill Cosby's whatever that guy, the attorney said, "Oh, these cases are too old. We're not going to do anything." Right?
Right.
Didn't that shock you when that happened, or no?
Yes and no. I say yes just because of the sheer volume of people who came forward. Granted, you don't know the quality of the testimony or the memory and the recollection, but sometimes it just becomes difficult for the prosecutor to say, we're going to go forward when this occurred 20, 30, 40 years ago. Is there statute limitation issues? Were there not? I mean, depending on age, sometimes there's a tolling for statute of limitations, but it all depends, and that even is frustrating in and of itself. Because they did it, or you feel they did it, and you're just barred from going forward.
So the two types of calls will probably be people who are just desperate, they don't know what to do, or maybe on behalf of somebody else they'll be calling you, and will be like eavesdropping in on their stories, but it'll be interesting to hear how you help them. But also people who are curious about things that they've read in the news about legal stories. Like this guy yesterday that was on death row and he married his attorney or something. Did you see that?
Yeah.
I did
His
not say that he
defense
married.
counsel.
I did not say that he married his
one of
defense
his
attorney.
No, not you say it. I mean, he.
No. Oh, I didn't see it. So.
Oh yeah. It was something like that. He was.
Yeah, the defense counsel, one of the people he married.
Yeah.
So
Okay. I have not married one of my clients yet. That's
I can't imagine.
Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you for coming in.
thank you for having
So
me.
between now and next week, you and Dan are going to figure out what your music is going to be?
I do believe he is working on something special, he said.
Oh, he's got something right now.
I have no idea. No, he does not. He's shaking his
Oh,
head.
he's not yet. Not yet.
He's still working on it diligently.
Well, in that case, we'll use the music you're hearing right here. Vanessa, thank you for coming in. Vanessa Lane Jennings, real quick, what's your phone number?
It is area code 352-804-0092.
Okay, and your website again?
LaneJennings.net.
LaneJennings.net.
And there's also JenningsLaw.net.
Is that the same? Does it take you to the same place?
It takes you to the same place.
Okay. Legal Lane, a new show here on WOCA. Vanessa Lane Jennings, thank you. We'll be right back.
From the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News Radio. I'm Lillian Wu. Administration officials talking terror.